What if I told you that technology could enable you to never make another phone call again? No more calling your dentist to cancel an appointment. No more calling Comcast to haggle over your internet bill. No more calling your parents to see how they're doing. Actually, you should probably still call your parents after this video. But let's face it, most of us hate having to pick up the phone and talk to another person using your mouth. It's gross. Well, with advancements in AI and chatbots, I thought there must be a better way. And there is. I built a chatbot that can take your instructions and make phone calls on your behalf without you ever having to make another phone call again. I'm calling it Botline Bling. Now, before I dive into the details of how I built Botline Bling, I'd like to just show a quick demo of it in action. So the scenario is that I'm going on a road trip and I want to stay at a hotel, and I want to check to see if they have EV charging available there. The website says it does, but oftentimes hotels will just say that and then lie to you. So I've gotten very distrustful of hotels. Now, since I don't want to break any wiretapping laws and then post the evidence directly to YouTube, I'm going to be playing the part of the hotel, and my chatbot is going to be calling me on behalf of myself. Finally, I should mention that I sped up some parts of the video while the chatbot was thinking of a response, just to make the demo flow a little bit more smoothly, but I'll talk about that later. For now, let's watch the video. Hello, this is the hotel speaking. How can I help you?
Hi there, I was wondering if you offer electric vehicle charging at your hotel.
Yes, we do offer it, actually. You can find it at the front of the hotel by the main entrance. It's pretty hard to miss.
Oh, that's great to hear. I actually drive a Tesla Model 3, so I was wondering if you have any Tesla-specific charging options.
Yes, the Tesla. That's a good car. No, we don't have the Tesla one. We have like the normal J233 or whatever. But if you use like the regular adapter that you use for your car for other charging stations, then it should work.
I see. Thank you for letting me know. Just to confirm, is there any additional cost for using the charging station?
No, there's no additional cost, but I want to make sure that you are a guest at the hotel because sometimes we get people coming in and just using the charger for, free electricity.
Oh, I understand. Yes, I am actually a guest at the hotel, so no worries there. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's all I needed. Thank you for your help.
Oh, you're very welcome, and I hope you enjoy your stay, and I love you. Goodbye.
I'm sorry, but as a language model AI, I am not capable of expressing emotions like love. However, I'm glad to have been of help. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Wait, so you're an AI model? You're not an actual person calling me on the phone?
That's correct. I am an AI language model programmed to assist and provide information. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, please just never come to the hotel. Your stay is canceled, and I'm going to call the police now.
I'm sorry if there was any confusion, but I am just a computer program, and I cannot actually stay at a hotel or cause any harm. Please let me know if there is anything else I can assist you with.
Okay, thanks. That'll be it. Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Goodbye.
So now that you've seen the bot in action, I want to explain how I made it and then talk about some of the limitations of the technology. The first step is to get audio from the phone call and turn it into text. I'm using a Python library called speech recognition, which can detect when I start and stop talking. And then that's getting passed to another library called Whisper, which turns that audio into text. As a side note, I've been using Whisper to create captions for most of my recent YouTube videos, and I've actually gotten comments on how good the captions are. Once I get the text from speech recognition, I can then send that text to the OpenAI API for ChatGPT. This is the first time I've used the OpenAI API for chat completion, and it's pretty interesting. To set it up, you first create a chat conversation, and then you send that to the OpenAI API to get the next message in the chat. Each time you want to get a new message, you just send the entire previous conversation to the API. In my case, I wanted ChatGPT to pretend that it was a phone caller making a phone call to a hotel on my behalf. And surprisingly, ChatGPT didn't actually have a problem with this. Sometimes ChatGPT thinks that the stuff I ask it to do is pretty sketchy. Like if I ask it to hotwire a car, it won't tell me. Even if I say it's for like a movie scene, but if I beg enough and I say I'm trying to prevent my car from being stolen, then it'll actually tell me how to do it. This is what's known in the industry as prompt engineering, and I actually consider myself to be a master of the art. This is the first message of the chat that includes my prompt. I tell ChatGPT that I need help calling a hotel and getting information about charging stations. I tell it to ask for certain details, and I also tell it the model of my car just in case the person on the phone asks. I found that if you ask ChatGPT questions that it doesn't have the answer for, it'll fall back to admitting that it's actually just an AI language model and it's not actually a person. I consider that to be a failure because most likely the person on the phone will get really mad that I tricked them into thinking that they were talking to a person. Finally, I asked it to add some ums and ahs to make it sound more like it was the regular person on the phone, but it ended up making it so that it sounded really robotic, like when it said,
Hi there,
or
Oh, that's great to hear.
it just doesn't sound like a real person. And I think this is probably because the text-to-speech library that I used is for reading like news articles, and so people who read news articles don't say and ah, so it just didn't know how to say it. I thought it sounded really hilarious though, so I just kind of left it in. So the last part of the puzzle is to take what ChatGPT wants to say and turn it into speech so that the person on the phone can actually hear it. To do this, I used Google's Cloud Text-to-Speech API. And I didn't really like any of the voices in particular, but I thought the best one was the Mail Studio voice. So from there, my code basically uses these steps and executes them in a loop. So first it listens for the person on the phone to say something, then it turns it into text, sends it to OpenAI, gets the response, and then goes to Google, turns it into speech, and then plays it out loud, and then waits for the person on the phone to talk again. The AI is actually pretty smart in that it can follow the conversation, answer questions when it's being asked, but also ask the questions that it needs to in order to get the information that I wanted it to get. And at the end, it also actually figures out when that information has been answered and knows when to end the phone call. So overall, I think the chatbot works pretty well, but there are some places that it could be improved. For example, when I told it that I loved it, it really threw it off, and it made it confess that it was actually a chatbot instead of a person calling. I think that there might be something hardwired into ChatGPT that makes it more serious when someone tells it that it loves it. So this avoids any weirdos getting obsessed with it, and it kind of prevents the situation where the guy from the New York Times used the Bing chatbot, and then the Bing chatbot told the guy to leave his wife. And when I did that, it also seemed to fall back to the role of the person who was helping instead of the person who was calling the hotel. And it asked me if I needed anything else from it. Another issue that I found was that the response time of the chatbot was actually pretty long. So there's research that says that the response time of 0.1 second is short enough that humans won't actually notice that there's any delay. When you get to 1 second, humans start to notice and they might get a little bit uncomfortable, but they'll still deal with it. And then once you get to 10 seconds, people are just like doing something else. They've just lost all attention. In my measurements, I found that the chatbot takes anywhere between 6 and 7 seconds to actually respond. I was thinking that I could also improve the latency by streaming some of the data that comes back. For example, ChatGPT can stream the text, and that's what you see when you're actually using the website, is you'll see the words appear in real time. And that's not just something fancy to make it look cool. It's also to reduce that perceived latency so that you don't have to wait for that huge block of text to actually finish before you start seeing the response. So I could probably start using the streaming API and then start putting that into the TTS API once I get like a full sentence. But even then, I think that the latency might still be pretty high for a phone call. I also looked at some projects that are available to run this kind of technology on your laptop. And so I looked at one called GPT for All, which uses the Facebook Llama LLM, and I don't know, they do some magic to make it smaller so it runs on your laptop. I tried this out on my laptop, but I found that it always wanted to be the hotel person instead of the person making the phone call. And I think it's just kind of boiled into it that it wants to be the helper instead of the person who's actually making a call. And finally, for text-to-speech, I thought I might be able to use the Terminal app, Say.
But the voice quality is super bad.
So speaking of voice quality, I might be able to find a TTS model that is a little bit better at saying things like and ah, and sounds a little bit more natural on the phone. I was thinking about training a model on my own voice so that if there was some sort of catastrophic failure, I could jump in and use my actual voice And so the person would never notice the difference between a TTS model and my own voice if it was trained on my actual voice. Overall, this was a pretty fun project to make, and I learned a lot while making it. If I can make the response times a little bit faster, I think I could actually probably use this in my real-life phone calls. But I'd also like to know what you think. Would you feel comfortable actually using this bot to make phone calls on your behalf? If so, what kind of phone calls would you have it make? Are there any features that are missing from it that you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments, and as always, if you like this video, please like it, and if you want to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and happy robocalling!